This is Chapter 3 of Legend. Day. When I was 7 years old, my father came home from the war front for a week's leave. His job was to clean up after the Republic soldiers, so he was usually gone, and Mom was left to raise us boys on our own. When he came home that time, the city's patrols did a routine inspection of our house, then dragged Dad off to the local police headquarters for questioning. They'd found something suspicious, I guess. The police brought him back with 2 broken arms, his face bloody and bruised. Several nights later, I dipped a ball of crushed ice into a can of gasoline, let the oil coat the ice in a thick layer, and then lit it. Then I launched it with a slingshot through the window of our local police headquarters. I remember the fire trucks that came whizzing around the corner shortly thereafter and the charred remains of the police building's west wing. They never found out who did it, and I never came forward. There was, after all, no evidence. I had committed my first perfect crime. My mother used to hope that I would rise up from my humble roots, become someone successful, or even famous. I'm famous all right, but I don't think it's what she had in mind. It's nightfall again, a good 48 hours since the soldiers marked my mother's door. I wait in the shadows of a back alley 1 block from the Los Angeles Central Hospital and watch its staff spill in and out of the main entrance. It's a cloudy night with no moon, and I can even make out the crumbling bank tower sign at the top of the building. Electric lights shine from each floor, a luxury only government buildings and the elite's homes can afford. Military jeeps stack up along the street as they wait for approval to enter the underground parking lots. Someone checks them for proper IDs. I keep still, my eyes fixed on the entrance. I look pretty awesome tonight. I'm wearing my good pair of shoes, boots made of dark leather, worn soft over time, with strong laces and steel toes. Bought them with 150 notes from my stash. I've hidden a knife flat against the sole of each boot. When I shift my feet, I can feel the cool metal against my skin. My black trousers are tucked into my boots, and I carry a pair of gloves and a black handkerchief in my pockets. A dark long-sleeve shirt is tied around my waist. My hair hangs loose down my shoulders. This time, I've sprayed my white blonde strands a deep black as if I'd dipped them in crude oil. Earlier in the day, Tess had traded 5 notes for a bucket of pygmy pig's blood from the back alley of a kitchen. My arm, stomach, and face are smooth with it. I've also streaked mud on my cheeks for good measure. The hospital spans the first 12 floors of the building, but I'm only interested in the one without windows. That's the 3rd floor, a laboratory, where the blood samples and medicines will be. From the outside, the 3rd floor is completely hidden behind elaborate stone carvings and worn Republic flags. Behind the facade lies a vast floor with no halls and no doors, just a gigantic room, doctors and nurses behind white masks, test tubes and pipettes, incubators and gurneys. I know this because I've been there before. I was there the day I failed my trial, the day I was supposed to die. My eyes scan the side of the tower. Sometimes I can break into a building by running it from the outside, if there are balconies to leap from and window ledges to balance on. I once scaled a 4-story building in less than 5 seconds, but this tower is too smooth, with no footholds. I'll have to reach the lab from inside. I shiver a little even in the warmth and wish I'd asked Tess to come with me, but 2 trespassers are easier to catch than 1. Besides, it's not her family who needs medicine. I check to make sure I've tucked my pendant beneath my shirt. A lone medic truck pulls up from behind the military jeeps. Several soldiers climb out and greet the nurses, while others unpack the truck's boxes. The leader of the group is a young, dark-haired man dressed all in black except for 2 rows of silver buttons that line his officer jacket. I strain to hear what he's saying to one of the nurses. From around the lake's edge, the man tightens his glove. I catch a glimpse of the gun at his belt. My men will be at the entrances tonight. Yes, Captain, the nurse says. The man tips his cap to her. My name's Midas. If you have any questions, come see me. I wait until the soldiers have spread out around the hospital's perimeter, and the man named Midas has immersed himself in conversation with 2 of his men. Several more medic trucks come and go, dropping off soldiers, some with broken limbs, some with gashes on their heads or lacerations on their legs. I take a deep breath, then step out of the shadows and stumble towards the hospital's entrance. A nurse spots me first. Just outside the main doors, her eyes dart to the blood on my arms and face. Can I be admitted, cousin? I call to her. I wince in imaginary pain. Is there still room tonight? I can pay. She looks at me without pity before she returns to scribbling on a notepad. Guess she doesn't appreciate the cousin affection. An ID tag dangles from her neck. What happened? She asked. I double over when I reach her and lean on my knees. "It was in a fight," I say, panting. "I think I got stabbed." The nurse doesn't look at me again. She finishes writing and then nods to one of her cards. "Pat him down." I stay where I am as 2 soldiers check me for weapons. I yelp on cue when they touch my arms or stomach. They don't find the knives tucked in my boots. They do take the little pouch of notes tied to my belt, my payment for entering the hospital, of course. If there was a gaudy, rich sector boy, I'd be admitted without charge, or they'd send a doctor for free straight up to where I live. When the soldiers give the nurse a thumbs up, she points me towards the entrance. "Waiting room's on the left. Have a seat." I thank her and stumble towards the sliding doors. The man named Midas watches me as I pass. He's listening patiently to one of his soldiers, but I see him studying my face as if out of habit. I make a mental note of his face too. The hospital is ghostly white on the inside. To my left, I see the waiting room. Just like the nurse said, a huge space packed with people sporting injuries of all shapes and sizes. Many of them moan in pain. One person lies unmoving on the floor. I don't want to guess how long some of them have been here, or how much they had to pay to get in. I note where all the soldiers are standing, 2 by the secretary's window, 2 by the doctor's door, far in the distance, several near the elevators, each wearing ID tags, and then I drop my eyes to the floor. I shuffle to the closest chair and sit. For once, my bad knee helps my disguise. I keep my hands pressed against my side for good measure. I count 10 minutes off in my head, long enough so that new patients have arrived in the waiting room and the soldiers are less interested in me. Then I stand up, pretend to stumble, and lurch towards the closest soldier. His hand reflexively moves to his gun. "Sit back down," he says. I trip and fall against him. "I need the bathroom," I whisper, my voice hoarse. My hands tremble as I grab his black robes for balance. The soldier looks at me in disgust while some of the others snicker. I see his fingers creep close to his gun's trigger, but one of the older soldiers shakes his head. No shooting in the hospital. The soldier pushes me away and points towards the end of the hall with his gun. "Over there," he snaps. "Wipe some of that filth off your face, and if you touch me again, I'll fill you with bullets." I release him and nearly fall to my knees. Then I turn and stagger towards the restroom. My leather boots squeak against the floor tiles. I can feel the soldier's eyes on me as I enter the bathroom and lock the door. No matter, they'll forget about me in a couple of minutes, and it'll take several more minutes before the soldier I grabbed realizes that his ID tag is missing. Once in the bathroom, I abandon my sick routine. I splash water on my face and scrub until most of the pig's blood and mud have come off. I unzip my boots and tear open the inner soles to reveal my knives, then tuck them into my belt. My boots go back on my feet. Then I untie the black collared shirt from around my waist and put it on, buttoning it up all the way to my neck and clipping my suspenders over it. I pull my hair back into a tight ponytail and tuck the tail into the shirt so it's pressed flat against my back. Finally, I pull my gloves on and tie a black handkerchief around my mouth and nose. If someone catches me now, I'll be forced to run away. Might as well hide my face. When I finish, I use the tip of one of my knives to unscrew the cover to the bathroom's ventilation shaft. Then I take out the soldier's ID tag, clip it to my pendant necklace, and stuff myself headfirst into the shaft's tunnel. The air in the shaft smells strange, and I'm grateful for the handkerchief around my face. I inch along as fast as I can. The shaft can't be more than 2 feet wide in any direction. Each time I pull myself forward, I have to close my eyes and remind myself to breathe, that the metal walls around me are not closing in. I don't have to go far. None of these shafts will lead to the 3rd floor. I only need to get far enough to pop into one of the hospital's stairwells, away from the soldiers on the 1st floor. I press forward. I think of Eden's face, of the medicine he and John and my mother will need, and of the strange red X with the line through it. After several minutes, the shaft dead ends. I look through the vent, and in the slivers of light, I can see pieces of a curved stairwell. The floor is an immaculate white, almost beautiful, and, most important, empty. I count to 3 in my head, then bring my arms as far back as I can and give the shaft cover a mighty shove. The cover flies off. I get one good glimpse of the stairwell, a large cylindrical chamber with tall plaster walls and tiny windows. One enormous spiraling set of stairs. Now I'm moving with all speed and no stealth. Run it. I squeeze out of the shaft and dart up the steps. Halfway up, I grab the railing and fling myself to the next highest curve. The security cameras must be focused on me. An alarm will sound any minute now. 2nd floor, 3rd floor. I'm running, out of time. As I approach the third floor door, I tear the ID tag off my necklace and pause long enough to swipe it against the door's reader. The security cameras haven't triggered an alarm in time to lock down the stairwell. The handle clicks. I'm in. I throw open the door. I'm in a huge room filled with rows of gurneys and chemicals boiling under metal hoods. Doctors and soldiers look up at me with startled faces. I grab the first person I see, a young doctor standing close to the door. Before any of the soldiers can point a gun in our direction, I whip out one of my knives and hold it close to the man's throat. The other doctors and nurses freeze. Several of them scream. Shoot and you'll hit him instead. I call it to the soldiers from beneath my handkerchief. Their guns are focused on me now. The doctor trembles in my grasp. I press my knife harder against his neck, careful not to cut him. I won't hurt you, I whisper in his ear. Tell me where to get the plague cures. He lets out a strangled whimper, and I can feel him sweating under my grip. He gestures towards the refrigerators. The soldiers are still hesitating, but one of them calls out to me. Release the doctor, he shouts. Put your hands up. I want to laugh. The soldier must be a new recruit. I cross the room with the doctor, then stop at the refrigerators. Show me. The doctor lifts a trembling hand and pulls the fridge door open. A gust of freezing air hits us. I wonder if the doctor can feel how fast my heart is beating. There, he whispers. I turn away from the soldiers long enough to see the doctor pointing at the top shelf in the fridge. Half the vials on the shelf are labeled with 3-lined XT virus mutations. The other half of the vials are labeled 1130 cures. But all the vials are empty. They've run out. I curse under my breath. My eyes skim other shelves. They have only plague suppressants and various painkillers. I curse again. Too late to turn back now. I'm letting go, I whisper to the doctor. Duck. I release my grip and shove him hard enough to make him fall to his knees. The soldiers open fire, but I'm ready for them. I hide behind the open fridge door as bullets ricochet off it. I grab several bottles of suppressants and shove them into my shirt. I bolt. One of the stray bullets scrapes me, and searing pain shoots up my arm. I'm almost at the exit. An alarm goes off as I burst through the stairwell door. There's a chorus of clicks as all the doors in the stairwell lock from the inside. I'm trapped. The soldiers can still come through any door, but I won't be able to get out. Shouts and footsteps echo from inside the laboratory. A voice yells out, "He's hit!" My eyes jump to the tiny windows in the stairwell's plaster walls. They're too far away for me to reach from the stairs themselves. I grit my teeth and pull my second knife so that I now have one in each hand. I pray the plaster is soft enough, then leap off the stairs and throw myself towards the wall. I stab one knife straight into the plaster. My wounded arm gushes blood, and I scream from the effort. I'm dangling halfway between my launching place and the window. I rock back and forth as hard as I can. The plaster is giving way. Behind me, I hear the laboratory door burst open and soldiers spill out. Bullets spark all around me. I swing towards the window and let go of the knife buried in the wall. The window shatters, and I'm suddenly out in the night again, falling like a star to the first floor. I rip open my long-sleeved shirt and let it billow out from behind me as thoughts zip through my head. Knees bent, feet first, relaxed muscles hit with balls of feet, roll. The ground rushes at me, and I brace myself. The impact knocks the wind out of me. I roll 4 times and crash into the wall on the other side of the street. For a moment, I lie there blinded, completely helpless. Above me, I can hear furious voices coming from the 3rd-floor window as the soldiers realize they're going to have to double back into the library to disable the alarm. My senses gradually sharpen. Now I'm very aware of the pain in my side and arm. I use my good arm to prop myself up and wince. My chest throbs. I think I've cracked a rib. When I try to stand, I realize that I've sprained one of my ankles too. I can't tell if adrenaline is keeping me from feeling other effects of my fall. Shouts come from around the building's corner. I force myself to think. I'm now near the rear of the building, and several alleys branch off behind me into the darkness. I limp into the shadows. When I look over my shoulder, I see a small group of soldiers rush to where I'd fallen, pointing out the broken glass and blood. One of the soldiers is the young captain I saw earlier, the man named Midas. He orders his men to spread out. I quicken my pace and try to ignore the pain. I hunch my shoulders so that the black of my outfit and hair help me melt into the darkness. My eyes stay down. I need to find a sewer cover. The edges of my vision are blurring now. I push one hand against my ear and feel for blood. Nothing yet, a good sign. Moments later, I catch sight of a sewer cap on the street. I heave a sigh, readjust the black handkerchief covering my face, and bend down to lift the cover. Freeze! Stay where you are. I roll around to see Midas, the young captain from the hospital's entrance, facing me. He has a gun pointed straight at my chest, but to my surprise he doesn't fire it. I tighten my grip on my remaining knife. Something changes in his eyes, and I know he recognizes me, the boy who had pretended to stagger into the hospital. I smile. I have plenty of wounds for the hospital to treat now. Midas narrows his eyes. Hands up. You're under arrest for theft, vandalism, and trespassing. You're not going to take me in alive. I'd be happy to take you in dead if you prefer. What happens next is a blur. I see Midas tense up to fire his gun. I throw my knife at him with all my strength. Before he can fire, my knife hits him hard in the shoulder and he falls backward with a thud. I don't see him get up. I bend down and heave the manhole cover up, then lower myself down the ladder and into the blackness. I pull the sewer cover back in place. My injuries are catching up to me now. I stumble along in the sewers, my vision going in and out of focus, one of my hands pressed hard against my side. I'm careful not to touch the walls. Every breath hurts. I must have cracked a rib. I'm alert enough to think about which direction I'm moving in and concentrate on heading toward the lake sector. Tess will be there. She'll find me and help me to safety. I think I can hear the rumble of footsteps overhead, the shouts of soldiers. No doubt someone has discovered Midas by now, and they might even have headed down into the sewers too. They could be hot on my trail with a pack of dogs. I make a point to take several turns and walk in the filthy sewer water. Behind me I hear splashes and the sounds of echoing voices. I take more turns. The voices get a little closer, then farther. I keep my original direction planted firmly in my mind. It would be something, wouldn't it, to escape the hospital only to die down here, lost in the gaudy mess of sewers. I count off the minutes to keep myself from passing out. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. The footsteps behind me sound far away now, as if they are on a different path than I am. Sometimes I hear strange sounds, something like a bubbling test tube and the sigh of steam pipes, a breath of air. It comes and goes. 2 hours, 2.5 hours. When I see the next ladder leading up to the surface, I take my chances and pull myself up. I'm in real danger of fading now. It takes all of my remaining strength to drag myself onto the street. I'm in a dark alley. When I've caught my breath, I blink away my fuzzy vision and study my surroundings. I can see Union Station several blocks away. I'm not far now. Tess will be there waiting for me. 3 more blocks. 2 more blocks. I have 1 more block. I can't hold on any longer. I find a dark spot in the alley and collapse. The last thing I see is the silhouette of a girl running off in the distance. Maybe she's walking towards me. I curl up and begin to fade away. Before I black out, I realize that my pendant is no longer looped around my neck.